Welcome back, family. We are so excited to have with us today, honored even, to have the great Kim Caudle Lewis with us. She is an entrepreneur. She is an amazing businesswoman. She is a person who has a heart for the community. And you're going to get to learn a lot more about her today. Now, not only is she all of those things, she is making history as we speak. And we are honored to have her with us as the first Black female state senator candidate for Alabama. We want to welcome her today. Miss Lewis, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. This is an honor to be on your show, so thank you for the opportunity.
Wow, I am just so elated to have you here. Like I said, so honored that you have accepted our invitation and just excited about what you're here to tell us about today. We want to get to know you a little better. Okay. I know that the race is going to begin, right, in November.
Yes.
Now, are you the only candidate that is on the ballot currently?
I'm the only Democratic candidate on the ballot.
Okay.
The Republicans will have a primary in May, and then I'll find out who I'll be facing come November.
Look, well, they better be ready. They better be ready because I know that you are going to bring it to them, and I know that you are definitely the best person for this role and for this position. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about who you are, your origin story. How did you get started in life in general? Where are you from?
Actually from Triana, Alabama. I'm the youngest of 10 kids.
Wow.
So I grew up with parents that, they weren't these big educators or anything like that. My dad was a labor worker. My mom worked as a cook. So they were hardworking people, and we grew up on a farm. We had the cows and the pigs and stuff. So that's how we supported all of us growing up. It was a close-knit family, and we all worked and did things together to make it easier for all of us to survive. So
I love that. And I love that you're from Huntsville, because a lot of folks who live in Huntsville, like, we're kind of transplanted here, like it's not like you grow up, but you're from here. Born and raised. You've been here your whole life.
Yes.
And obviously you have a passion to make sure that Huntsville progresses in an amazing way. So tell me a little bit about, about your journey. Mm-hmm. I know that you are CEO of Projectxyz. Yes. Tell us about how that got started.
It's a funny story. I've never was wanted to inspire to be this big, CEO and own my own company. That's been my husband's dream. He wanted to own our own company. But for me, I truly started Projectxyz out of necessity. Wow. I was trying to make ends meet with me. At the time, I had my oldest daughter, and I was a single mom, and I was just trying to make a living. Yeah. So I was working nights and weekends. I was doing healthcare IT consulting work, and because that's what my background was, and working and helping other hospitals grow and develop and do their IT systems. And it kind of grew, to the point where I was able to leave my full-time job at the hospital and start working on Projectxyz full-time. So, those little things that starts off as seem like a hardship actually turned into a blessing. And that's exactly what happened there, because it was a step on faith when I step out on faith when I started doing this. So it was.
Look, and don't you just love that about God? Like, he will give you, he will give you the desires of your heart wrapped up in hardship and things that, you just kind of have to trust him in, Was it really hard to start a company, being a minority owned business, and then of course being a woman in this, in this amazing role, CEO role?
It has been really hard. It's just one of those things where don't have a military background. So to try to do government contracting and to try to do things that weren't, usual for a Black woman to do, it was challenging. So we just figured out ways to make it happen. We took challenges within the company. We took sacrifices and things. Yeah. My husband didn't take a salary for years because we put all those investments back into the company to grow it. So it was just one of those things that we were willing to make those sacrifices so that we could grow the company into what it is today.
Wow.
And it's just one of those things that was passionate to us to make sure we did succeed and to be able to provide a legacy for our children. Yeah. So we worked it.
That's the stuff people don't tell you, right? Like, they don't tell you that, like, y'all, it was rough. It was rough for a moment. And so what helped you sustain in those times? Like, what made you say, what, we are doing the right thing? And what was it that, made you want to continue on that path?
Faith.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple as that. Yeah. It was just one of those things that we felt this is what we were designed to do. Yeah. So we just believed that, and he gave us the tools that we needed to make it happen. So it was scary. Yeah. There were times when we were, second guessing ourselves, but every time we'd get through those, or we would even put up blocks sometimes ourselves, and he would clear those blocks out of the way to make it where we honestly say some things that happen have to be divine intervention, because there's no way that those things would have happened had he not put us in the right place at the right time, in the right situations to make those happen. So,
wow, that is so powerful.
it is.
And so, like, what did those situations teach you? You know, if anything, was it to stay the path? Was it to, make sure that your faith is above all else? Like, if you could kind of boil that down into one thing.
It depended on what it was. Some situations taught us that we had, as I always say, put on my big girl panties and keep going. Because, it's times when things get hard and you've got to figure it out. But then there's times where he's like, okay, just stay the pace. It may be rough right now, but just stay the pace and things will work out. So it just depends on what's happening. We've had big organizations, in government contracting, there's always lawsuits and things that go on. So we've had big organizations that could have easily have crushed us in a lawsuit, and we've won it. So it's just things like that. We know that he has a bigger picture and a bigger plan for us, because otherwise there would have been a lot of things that would have stopped us along the way.
I love that. Look, don't you love when our daddy show up with the sword and he fighting for us every time? Look, that is beautiful. And I appreciate you sharing that with us, because, sometimes it's hard to see those next steps, and you don't know that, what the outcome is going to be.
Correct.
But it is by the power, or through the power of other people's testimonies, that you can keep going. So thank you so much. That is absolutely beautiful. Now, I know that recently you were elected, right, to be chairman of the board for Madison County, the first Black woman to ever do that. Look, super first shout out to you all across the board. What was that like? What was that experience like?
Well, in 2019, I had the honor of being the first Black female to chair the Huntsville Madison County Chamber of Commerce. That was something. I hate to say that it was in 2019 for that to happen,
right,
and all the years, but I just don't want that to be the norm, for it to be so long before different type of representations out there. So it was humbling to me, and I worked my butt off to try to make sure I was representing the community the best of my ability, and making sure we're doing things to continue to grow and prosper as far as the community as a whole.
Absolutely.
So it was an honor to serve there, and hopefully it won't be another 20-something years before it happens again.
No, that is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Like, how did your service as on the board, how did that prepare you for this next big venture in life, right? Because here you are ready to run for state senate and represent us and do all manners of great things. Yeah. What do you think about, what was it from that experience that led you to this decision?
I think it kind of opened my eyes. They say, when you have seats at tables, you can see certain things that are happening and things that are occurring. So I think that being in that position opened my eyes of how much the things that happen at the state level also affect what happens in our local communities. Yeah. So it made me want to get out and see what those opportunities were and how I can have a better effect on them.
Sure.
So running for state senate right now is actually an opportunity for me to figure out ways to help and give back to the communities. And with the way the new district lines have drawn, it actually makes it more, because the representation needs to change because the district lines have changed. It's a different group of people that sit in the district now that didn't sit in there before. Yeah. So I want to make sure that representation is there, and the things that are going on in the community have effect on the entire community, not just certain areas.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. What can we do, as constituents, right, to be more aware, to be more educated? Because, politics is one of these things that, and this was a personal thing for me, I had even asked God, how do I get more involved? Mm-hmm. Just so that whenever the elections happen, who's in place and who's running. Because like you said, or like you mentioned, you may not be able to control what's going on in Washington, but you do have a say in what's going on in your state, right? Exactly. So what do we need to be going to meetings, or to, how can we be more involved?
I think it's just being more aware. First of all, know where your district lines are now, because I said they just elected last session to change some of the district lines. So you need to know where those lines are, where your representation comes from. And then also to get out and register and vote. Yeah. I mean, a lot of time people do a lot of complaining, but did you vote in the last election? No. So you kind of get what you got. Right. So I think it's one of those things, the best thing people can do is make sure you register to vote, make sure your family and friends are registered to vote, and make sure you actually get out and do it. Get out, work on a campaign. It doesn't have to be mine, but any campaign or any person you feel passionate about, get out and support them. And if it's the smallest way, it could be simply putting a yard sign in your yard. Yeah. It could be something simply donating $10, $15. A lot of people can't afford a lot, but every little bit helps, because it helps you get the message out to a different group of people that might not have known about you beforehand. Absolutely. So I think it can be as small as you want it to be, or as large as you want it to be, as far as your involvement of helping any candidate or anybody that you want to progress, get into those positions.
That's awesome. And I mean, I appreciate you saying that, we have to be more aware, things that we say matter to us. And, I think that a lot of times the way our lives are so structured, it's almost like is designed to make us have a short attention span for, things that are going on around us. Especially nowadays. I mean, we've got 7-second reels and TikTok videos, and like no one wants to sit down and really understand or digest what is going on. So, it is, those opportunities to get involved and make yourself aware. Yeah. Are there events coming up that maybe folks could be involved in or maybe support you?
There's always events coming up. You got, several things are going on with the Madison County Democrats, with the Limestone County Democrats. There's tons of opportunities to go on. I mean, if you check my website, we've got events listed of where there's opportunities you can get engaged.
Fantastic.
Something as simple as marching in a parade, or something simply as going out canvassing. You don't have to do a big area, just your simple neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's small and large. So anywhere you want to get involved, just check the website.
I love that. And I love, just in speaking to you, one of the things that I get hands down is just your warmth and your sense of personality, first of all. I mean, you seem like it's just like talking to, anybody you love. Exactly. I mean, there's no friend or anything like that. It's just a great spirit. And so I, for one, would, y'all support our sis, Kim Caudle Lewis, in this election coming up now in November. That's when the election is.
November 8th.
Are there any events that we need to be aware of prior to that or coming up to that, would make a difference as well?
Like I said, there's just tons of them that are out there. I know the primary comes up in May.
Okay.
So we need to make sure everybody's out voting in the primary.
Yes.
Luckily, I don't have a primary candidate, so I won't actually be on the ballot, but there's a lot of candidates that will be on the ballot, so make sure you're paying attention
and
to that.
And that deadline has passed. Like, we definitely know that there's not going to be anybody who can jump in here. Okay, look, because I'm like, we don't want to be caught slipping. We don't want to be caught sleeping, you know?
That was back in January. You had to qualify to be a candidate back in January, so I know that there's not going to be one, at least not an opponent for me. But there is going to be a lot of opposition. I mean, we've got two people that are running on the Republican side that are going to be full speed ahead trying to get there. Yeah. And then they'll find out which one of those will win in the May primary. And then that's who I'll face in November.
Let me ask you, what do you think the greatest asset that you can bring to, to this new structure, right? Like, what is it that you think, hey, this needs to stop, and here's where I can add value in this regard?
I think it's just because I'm actively involved in the community. Yeah. I'm out working, not just when it's, political season. I'm out constantly doing stuff to make sure I understand to the best of my knowledge of what's going on. And then I do my best to try to communicate with people to find out what the issues are. I don't consider myself a typical political candidate, because I'm not one that just wants to get up and talk and speech and stuff. I actually want to go sit down, have a conversation with someone and find out, what are your needs? What are your concerns? Yeah. And make it part of a conversation, not part of me dictating what I want to do, but to find out what you need. Yeah. So I think that's where I can fit in a little bit better than normal, because I just don't want to be dictating anything. I truly want to be one that's going to be part of the solution, not creating even more problems. That
resonates so well. Yeah. And I mean, and it's so honest and genuine coming from you. And it's probably that farm life.
It is, girl. It's very simple life.
You're like, get in there, get your hands dirty.
Yes.
Find out who needs the help. Everybody works together.
Yes.
That is a beautiful thing. Absolutely beautiful. Tell me about your family. Now, tell me about your support system. Like, why do you do this?
It's because of my family. I mean, we grew up small, knit family. Well, I can't say small, a very close-knit family, because 10 kids ain't nowhere near small.
No.
And then I had a aunt and uncle that had 11 kids. So, we were all playing and stuff together as kids. So that's how we grew up. It was to take care of community, take care of family, take care of the people around you, because that's how we survived. I mean, because we couldn't all do it ourselves. My big sister and stuff would always just say, where's Kim? Because I was always that hip baby, because I was the youngest. So it's just one of those things where we work together constantly, and we're still that way now. I mean, we're still just as close now as when we were kids, because we all depend on each other growing up. So.
Yeah. I get that your motivation is your family. Like, do you have someone who inspires you, or, how did you know as a young Kim Lewis that you were I think you said before that you had no aspirations of growing up into this, right? So were there folks that you've seen maybe along the way and said, you know what, that's the path I want to take?
It is. I've saw some of my sisters and siblings. My oldest sister, they had a company and grew it and expanded, and eventually sold it and, was able to give back to the community. And then I've had several mentors in my life that did the same thing. So it was just one of those things. That's what I wanted to make sure that even though we succeed, that everybody around us succeed too. So that's just what I've experienced, what I've seen. So that's what I want to make sure. That's kind of the legacy that we live, and that my daughters, I've got 2 girls, they see the same thing, that they want to make sure that not only are they taking care of their family, but the community as a whole.
Beautiful. Look, and you answered my next question in one. I love that because it is so important. It is so important, mentorship, and that, we are exposed to folks who are making a difference early on, because you don't know it's possible unless you see someone out there doing it.
Exactly.
Otherwise we would all think, well, let's just go be basketball players, or let's just go, do whatever we see on TV.
Representation is key. I mean, it's hard to imagine doing certain things if you've never seen it before. Or if the image that you see is something that's portrayed on TV, which it may not be realistic in what it really takes to make it happen. So representation is really important, because otherwise we don't know what's possible and what we can't do because we've never seen it before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know that you are an amazing mentor. You're just an amazing lady. When I spoke with you initially, I said, this lady is my vision board personified. Like, I'm just so in awe of you.
Thank you.
Are there things that you have coming up that you maybe want us to be aware of? I understand that you were recently recognized as tell us about that. Look, I'll let you tell it.
I've had several different recognitions here lately. I've been several years ago recognized as one of the women to help shape the state of Alabama, but also several other. Yeah.
Wow.
There's just been other things that have done, and those leadership skills have helped develop me into who I am, and picking them up from each one of my siblings and people around me it's just been good, and I've been blessed to have those people in my life. So
look, and then you're a sharer as well.
Yes.
I love that, because not only do you have all of these amazing experiences, we're sitting in the Pitts home, and I had mentioned to him, I was like, I just love folks who are transparent about their journey and then real, because that's what'll help other folks. Have you documented these experiences anywhere? Do you have any are you writing these things down somewhere so that folks can understand your legacy and, kind of take the torch and run after you?
Well, funny you should say that. Actually, I'll be presenting a book that I've written. The book is called The Power of 10. I'm the youngest of 10 kids, and each one of my siblings I call myself a chameleon because I've learned something from each one of my siblings.
Love it.
So I've got 10 leadership skills that are there to help any leader develop and to be more of a well-rounded leader, not just in one different category. I think we all have to be able to have a voice of reason or be able to speak our mind and be bold. So it's just those things that we can glean from other people.
Yeah.
And I just so happen to have my siblings as those people I gleaned them from. So
beautiful. Look, and most folks, like that with their siblings, it's like, you may have learned some great things from them along the way, but they're not necessarily noteworthy. So
there's some of those too, right?
Right. So I love it. I know you're probably making your parents just super proud.
Yes, I hope so too. I hope they're watching down on us and seeing it. So
beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we want to thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for the time. We look forward to supporting you. I'm on board 100%. We look forward to supporting you and then welcoming you as our next state senate. Kim Caudle Lewis.
Fingers crossed.
Look, we already gonna speak it and claim it and name it and all of that stuff. So we are so thankful that you graced our stage today, and we look forward to just more with you.
Thank you.